It was supposed to be the perfect day. The day Sandra had waited for since she was a little girl, her wedding day. The white dress, the flowers, the choir, the smiles, everything looked like a dream straight from heaven. Everyone called her the luckiest bride. Everyone, except life itself, because life had other plans. Sandra stood before the mirror, her reflection glowing like a fairy. She smiled, touched her veil, and whispered, "This is it." Her heart fluttered with joy as she imagined walking down the aisle to marry the man of her dreams, Daniel. Daniel. The man who had promised her forever. The man who told her she was his heartbeat. The man who was currently upstairs plotting her funeral, but she didn't know that yet. Sandra grabbed her bouquet and decided to surprise him. You know, one of those cute pre-wedding moments brides do for fun. She tiptoed down the corridor of the hotel, her heels clicking softly, her smile wide enough to light up the hallway. She was nervous, excited, and completely clueless that she was walking straight into betrayal. She stopped right outside Daniel's suite. Her hand was already on the door handle when she heard his voice, laughing. Her heart melted. Oh, he's laughing. Probably with his best man. Maybe he's nervous, she whispered to herself with a blush. But then his words turned her world upside down. Don't worry. Once she takes the last pill, she'll be gone. Either before or after the vows. It doesn't really matter. What matters is, once she's dead, everything she owns becomes ours. Sandra froze. Her smile vanished. Her fingers went numb. The bouquet slipped from her hand and hit the floor softly, just like her heart. She pressed her ear closer to the door, praying she heard wrong. But then came a woman's voice, a voice she knew too well. Relax, I've already mixed it in her drink. She won't even notice. By the way, my bridesmaid dress fits perfectly. Sandra's knees buckled. Her own bridesmaid, her supposed best friend, the one who helped pick her gown, the one who cried fake tears of joy when Daniel proposed. Her stomach churned, her vision blurred. It felt like the walls were closing in. Sandra turned and ran, like a ghost escaping its coffin. Her heels clattered loudly down the corridor, her white gown flying behind her. People smiled as she passed, thinking she was rushing to the aisle. No one knew she was running for her life. Her mind screamed one thing: Dad, Mom. They were the only ones she could trust, or so she thought. By the time she reached their suite, she could barely breathe. Her body was trembling, her heart racing like a drum. "Dad, Mom!" she gasped, stumbling inside. Her father and stepmother jumped to their feet, alarmed. "Sandra, what happened?" She collapsed into her father's arms, tears streaming down her face. They want to kill me," she whispered. Her father's eyes widened. Who wants to kill you?" Sandra tried to speak, but her voice cracked. Her lips trembled. Then she went limp in his arms. Her father screamed her name as panic filled the air. Guests rushed in. The hallway turned chaotic. People shouted, called for help. Moments later, Daniel appeared, all fake tears and dramatic wailing. "My love, my wife-to-be, what happened?" he cried, kneeling beside her. His performance was Oscar-worthy. If there was an award for Best Pretend Lover, Daniel would win it hands down. He held her hand and pressed it to his cheek, whispering, "Don't leave me." Inside, his heart was dancing salsa. Everything was working perfectly. They rushed Sandra to the hospital. Daniel sat beside her in the car, acting shattered, but his eyes glowed with victory. He even sent a text, "Mission accomplished. She's done." When they arrived, he jumped out, yelling, "Help! Please! My bride isn't breathing." Doctors and nurses rushed out, wheeling her in. Sandra's stepmother wailed dramatically. "Save my daughter, please," she cried. Her father stood frozen, silent, eyes glassy. He looked like a man watching the sun set on his last hope. Daniel sat in the waiting room, face buried in his palms, shoulders shaking, but not from sorrow. Every now and then he peeked through his fingers and smirked. Then came the doctor. His face was pale and drenched in sweat. "She's alive," he said quietly. "But her heart is weak. We'll try our best." Her stepmother dropped to her knees, crying like a professional actress. "Oh, Lord, don't take my child," she sobbed. Daniel sniffed and wiped imaginary tears. His phone buzzed again. Another message. "Good job, we'll talk later." He smiled faintly, just for a second, before pretending to pray. Inside the ICU, Sandra lay still, her face pale, wires all over her chest, oxygen mask covering her lips. The monitor beeped slowly, 1, 2, 3. Every beat like a whisper from the grave. Hours passed, nurses whispered, machines hummed. Then, suddenly, her finger moved. One nurse gasped. "Doctor! She's moving!" Sandra's eyes fluttered open. She looked weak, fragile, but alive. The nurse leaned close. "Miss Sandra, you're awake. I'll call your—" Sandra shook her head weakly. "Please," she whispered. "Don't tell them. Not yet." The nurse froze. "But your family." "I said not yet," Sandra said firmly. "They can't know. Not him, not her. Please, promise me." The nurse stared for a moment, then nodded slowly. "I promise." Sandra closed her eyes again. A tear slipped down her cheek. Her body was weak, but her mind was on fire. They tried to kill me, she thought, but they'll regret leaving me alive. The next morning, Sandra asked to see Dr. Raymond, her personal doctor. He'd known her since she was a child. When he entered, she was sitting up, pale but fierce. "Talk to me," he said gently. "What really happened?" Sandra looked down, her voice trembling. "Someone wants me dead, doctor." His eyes widened. "Dead? Who?" "My fiancé," she whispered. "Daniel, I heard him. He and my bridesmaid planned everything. He's been giving me pills for weeks, saying they were vitamins." Dr. Raymond sat back, horrified. "You're saying this was a planned murder?" Sandra nodded slowly. "Yes, but I can't prove it. I need evidence. I need to know everyone involved." A long silence filled the room. Then Sandra lifted her eyes, her tone calm but dangerous. "Doctor," she said, "help me fake my death." Dr. Raymond blinked. "What? That's crazy." Sandra's lips trembled, but her voice was steady. "It's the only way. If they think I'm gone, they'll let their guard down. I'll find out who else betrayed me, and I'll make them pay." The doctor stared at her, torn between fear and admiration. Finally he nodded. "If that's what you want, we'll do it." And that was how it all began, the plan that would shake everyone. Sandra would die, but only on paper. Her obituary would spread, her coffin would be lowered. Daniel would celebrate secretly, but while he danced on her grave, Sandra would be watching, because this bride wasn't done yet. She wasn't dead, she was just getting started, and heaven help whoever crossed her next. That night, the hospital was so quiet you could hear your own heartbeat. The only sound was the soft beeping from the machine beside Sandra's bed. She lay there, staring at the ceiling, her heart beating fast like a drum. Am I really about to do this, she thought. Am I really about to fake my own death? Dr. Raymond, her personal doctor, the only man she could trust now, stood beside her, holding a small bottle filled with a clear, cold-looking liquid. His face was serious, no jokes this time. "This injection will slow down your heartbeat," he explained calmly. "It'll make you cold, pale, and lifeless. You'll look dead, but you'll still be breathing." Sandra nodded. Her eyes didn't blink, her heart didn't shake. She was done crying, done begging, done trusting snakes in human skin. She had loved Daniel with every breath. She had treated her best friend Tonya like a sister. And her family, oh, don't even get her started. She gave them everything, built businesses for them, paid bills, even bought her father a new house, yet they stabbed her back like it was a hobby. Tears rolled down her cheeks as she whispered, "Do it, Doctor." Dr. Raymond sighed deeply. He gave her one last look, then gently inserted the needle into her arm. The liquid was cold, crawling through her veins like winter. Her eyes started dimming. Her heartbeat slowed down, slower and slower until it almost stopped. Her body turned pale, her lips lost their color. Dr. Raymond placed ice packs under her arms, around her neck, and at her feet to make her temperature drop. Then he picked up his phone, his hand shaking slightly. "I'm sorry. She's gone." Within an hour, the news spread like wildfire. Sandra is dead. Her mansion was suddenly full of people. Workers crying, neighbours pretending to be sad, reporters rushing to her gate as if they'd ever liked her. And then came the family, one by one, each acting like a saint, but deep down, every single one of them was waiting to hear about the will. That evening, Sandra's mansion looked like a funeral palace. Her coffin lay open in the middle of the living room, candles burning all around her. She was dressed in white, lying there silently under a light silk sheet. Daniel arrived first, looking like an actor from a tragedy movie. His black suit was spotless, his fake tears glistening like diamonds. If awards were given for acting heartbroken, he would have won one right there. Then came her siblings, her father, her stepmother, and even her long-lost mother, the one who left her when she was 6. The room was filled with whispers, fake sobs, and people waiting for one thing, the lawyer's announcement. The lawyer cleared his throat. According to the late Miss Sandra's instructions, he said, her will shall not be read until 10 days after her death. The room went silent. 10 days? What kind of mystery was this? He continued, and every person she loved must visit her coffin alone, one by one, each day until the burial. Murmurs filled the room. Some complained, others hissed quietly, but deep down, greed is a patient listener. They all agreed. Day 1, Daniel and Tonia. Daniel entered the room alone, his face buried in his hands like a man drowning in sorrow. "My love," he whispered dramatically, "I can't believe you left me." Sandra's body lay still. Inside, her heart was racing. Then the door creaked, and in came Tonia, her chief bridesmaid, the so-called best friend, dressed in black, crocodile tears on her face. Sandra could hear them talking. "Gone too soon," Tonia sighed. Daniel shook his head sadly. She was too trusting. Then, out of nowhere, he grabbed Tonia's hand. Sandra's heart skipped a beat. Tonia didn't pull back. She squeezed his hand and whispered, "It's over now. We finally did it." Daniel smirked. 10 more days, and everything is ours. Sandra wanted to scream, to jump up and slap their faces into the next century, but she stayed still, every muscle tight. Then came the dagger to the heart. Tonia leaned close to Sandra's face and whispered, "The pills worked perfectly, didn't they? You should have known better, Sandra. You don't feed snakes and expect them not to bite." Under the sheet, a tear rolled down Sandra's cheek. Daniel chuckled softly. "She was always too soft," he said. "Now she's gone, and the empire is ours." That was it. The betrayal was deeper than she imagined. Day 2. Her step-siblings. Her stepbrother Hilary and stepsister Becky walked in like they were inspecting a car they just bought. Hilary rubbed his hands together. "I'm taking her cars, all of them. The Range Rover, the Mercedes, mine." Becky scoffed. "Keep the cars. I want the beach house." "The one you used for wild parties?" Hilary asked. "So what?" she snapped. "She's dead. I'm alive. That house deserves some life." They both laughed loudly, mocking her lifeless body. Sandra lay still, her heart breaking again. These were the same people she helped through school, the same people who once called her Big Sis, and now they were dividing her things like vultures. Day 3. Her father and stepmother. When her father, Mr. Davies, walked in, he looked truly sad. His voice cracked as he whispered, "My little girl." For a moment, Sandra believed he cared. But then her stepmother, Veronica, placed her hand on his shoulder and whispered, "At least now, you won't need to beg her for money anymore. Everything she owned will be yours." Sandra froze. Her father hesitated for a second, then nodded slowly. "You're right," he said. "After all, I raised her." Sandra's soul screamed in silence. So this was love? Day 4. That afternoon, her mother arrived, the woman everyone said abandoned her. She walked in quietly, wearing a simple black dress, no jewelry, no makeup, no greed in her eyes. She knelt beside Sandra's coffin and held her cold hand. "My baby," she whispered, "I never left you. I fought to stay, but your father pushed me away. He made you hate me." Tears rolled freely down her cheeks. "I wanted to be there, for your birthdays, your graduations, everything, but I wasn't allowed." Sandra's heart cracked open. For the first time in years, she felt something warm. truth. Her mother had loved her all along. Beneath the sheet, Sandra wept quietly. Day 5. On the 5th day, the house staff came. The only people who truly cared. The maids, the cook, the gardener, the butler, the driver, they all stood quietly praying. When everyone left, only Matt, the driver, remained. He stood beside her coffin, silent. Then he leaned close, holding the edge of it tightly. His voice trembled. "I'm sorry, Sandra," he whispered. "Forgive me. I didn't know they planned to hurt you. If I had, I would have stopped it." Sandra's heartbeat quickened. He knew something. Her lips twitched slightly beneath the sheet. This was no longer just about revenge. It was about justice. Matt swallowed hard. "I need to confess this. I should have told you," he said, shaking his head slowly. "I should have warned you." "Warn me?" Sandra thought in silence, her mind racing. Matt's voice dropped low. "I saw things, Sandra, things I should have spoken about. Your husband, your best friend, they weren't who you thought they were." Sandra's chest tightened. Her fingers twitched slightly under the sheet. He knew. He knew something. Matt's voice cracked again. "I wanted to tell you, but who would believe a driver? I thought you'd laugh or think I was jealous." Sandra's eyes filled with tears. Then came the words that broke her heart completely. "I love you, Sandra," he whispered softly, his tears dropping onto the coffin. "I've loved you for years. From the first day I saw you outside that fashion mall, in that red gown, waving your car keys like a queen. I knew I was finished." He gave a painful laugh. "I wanted to tell you so many times, but how could I? A driver in love with his boss? That's comedy material." Matt shook his head, wiping his eyes roughly. "So I stayed close, drove you everywhere, opened your doors, smiled when you smiled, died a little inside every time you cried. And now," his voice broke, "now it's too late." He pressed his palm gently on the coffin and whispered, "I hope wherever you are, you find peace." Then he turned, shoulders slumped, and walked away slowly. His footsteps faded into silence. Under the white sheet, Sandra lay still, but her heart raced. Her eyes burned with unshed tears. Matt wasn't like the others. He truly loved me, and he knows something big. She clenched her fists under the cover. "Whatever you saw, Matt, I'll find it. And when I do, every one of them will pay." 10 days later, the mansion was filled again. Men in black suits, women in lace veils, fake sadness, pretend pity. They whispered quietly, adjusting their designer sunglasses, but everyone's eyes were fixed on one thing, the brown briefcase the lawyer carried. Sandra's wealth was legendary. Cars, companies, lands, mansions. And now that she was dead, everyone came dressed like mourners, but thinking like vultures. When the lawyer entered, silence swept through the hall. He adjusted his tie and cleared his throat. "Before I begin reading the will," he said firmly, "Mrs. Sandra left one last instruction, that you all must watch this video first." He plugged a flash drive into the large TV. The screen blinked, and suddenly, there they were. Daniel, Sandra's husband, holding hands with Tonia, her best friend and chief bridesmaid. The crowd gasped. A sharp cry escaped someone's lips. The video showed them laughing, sneaking into a hotel, kissing under dim lights. People covered their mouths. Mr. Davies, Sandra's father, froze in shock. Hilary and Becky, her step-siblings, exchanged wide-eyed looks. Daniel jumped up, his face pale. "Turn that off! Turn it off right now!" But the lawyer stepped back calmly. "This was her wish," he said. "We will watch it to the end." Video after video played. Stolen moments, secret meetings, romantic dinners in Sandra's absence. By the time the screen went black, nobody could look at anybody. Shame filled the room like heavy smoke. Then bold white letters appeared on the screen. "My will." And there she was, Sandra, alive and glowing on screen, sitting in front of a camera. Her hair was tied up neatly, her eyes sharp, her smile cold. "Now that I've seen how much you all truly loved me," she said, dripping sarcasm with every word, "let's get down to business." The room went pin-drop silent. Sandra's tone turned icy. "To my darling husband Daniel, and to my ever-faithful friend Tonia, She paused and smirked. You two deserve each other. From this day, you will lose everything I ever gave you. The house, the cars, the joint accounts, all gone. I already filed for divorce. Enjoy your love story. Broke. Daniel's lips shook. Tonya gasped, tears in her eyes. Sandra continued, To my dear stepbrother Hilary and my sweet stepsister Becky, congratulations. You've both just earned yourselves a lifetime ban from my life. Don't ever come near me again. They sat frozen, mouths open, looking like children caught stealing biscuits. Then she turned toward the camera with teary eyes. To my father, Mr. Davies, and his sweet wife, Veronica, I'm giving you 5 million naira. Not out of love, but so my hatred doesn't spill onto your innocent children. Gas spread through the room. Mr. Davies's face fell. Veronica bowed her head, shame washing over her. Sandra blinked back tears. To my mother, she whispered, voice trembling, I'm sorry for shutting you out. I'll make it right this time. Her mother, sitting quietly at the corner, broke into tears, her sobs echoing through the hall. Then Sandra's tone softened again, but this time it carried warmth. And to my dear Matt, she said with a gentle smile, Thank you. You were the only one who truly cared. I loved you too, but I was too blind to see it then. I thought I was marrying loyalty. I ended up marrying lies. She paused, smiling shyly. So, in front of everyone, I'm asking, if you still feel the same, will you be mine? Gasps exploded across the room. Every eye turned to Matt. His mouth hung open, tears welling. He covered his face, shaking in disbelief. Then, boom, the mansion doors burst open. People screamed. And there she was, Sandra, alive, glowing, strong, standing tall in the doorway. The entire hall went mad. Some fainted, some screamed. Others froze like statues. Her father's cane dropped. Hilary hid behind Becky. Daniel looked like he'd seen a ghost. But Matt ran, straight into her arms. He hugged her tight, tears flooding his face. Her mother joined them, were crying uncontrollably. The rest sat there, trembling. Their secrets had been played on TV. Their lies buried them alive. Sandra looked around slowly, her eyes sharp, her voice steady. You wanted me dead, she said coldly, but guess what? I'm alive, and stronger than ever. This is just the beginning. Then, knock, knock. A loud bang echoed through the mansion doors. Before anyone could move, uniformed police officers stormed in. Daniel Brown and Tonya Gabriel, the lead officer announced, holding up a warrant, You are both under arrest for the attempted murder of Miss Sandra Davies. The room exploded in whispers. Silence swallowed the room. Tonya's lips quivered. Please, officer, this is a mistake, she cried. We love Sandra. We would never. Save your drama for court, the officer said coldly. The crowd murmured, shocked. Phones were already out, recording every second. Daniel stepped back slowly, his face pale. Sandra, say something. Tell them the truth. Sandra took a deep breath and stepped forward. Her voice was calm but razor-sharp. Truth, she repeated with a bitter laugh. Daniel, you want the truth? Let me remind you, you gave me pills every single day. You said they were vitamins. But guess what? They weren't. They were poison. Gasps rippled through the crowd like a wave. Daniel's lips parted, but no sound came. His eyes dropped to the floor. Sweat dripped from his temple. Tonya burst into tears. I didn't mean to, she sobbed, holding her face. It wasn't supposed to go that far. Shut up, Tonya, Daniel barked, turning on her. You're the one who brought those stupid pills. You said they'd only make her weak, not. Tonya's cries filled the mansion as the officers pulled them both toward the door. Sandra, please, forgive me. I swear I didn't mean it. Sandra stood still, her eyes cold. You didn't mean it, she said quietly. You smiled in my face while killing me slowly. You called me sister while handing me death in a capsule. So tell me, Tonya, what exactly did you mean? The words struck hard. Tonya broke down, screaming as the officers dragged her out. Daniel tried to twist free, shouting curses, but his voice drowned in the noise. The heavy doors closed behind them with a loud slam. The police van door followed, bang, sealing their fate. The crowd stood frozen. No one spoke. Sandra stared at the closed door for a long time. Her fingers trembled slightly. The man she once called husband, gone. The woman she once called sister, gone. Two people she trusted with her life had nearly taken it from her. Her vision blurred for a moment, but then something warm touched her hand. She turned slowly. It was Matt, her driver. The quiet man who had stood by her side through every storm. His palm slid gently into hers, his eyes filled with care. "You're free now," he whispered. That broke her. Sandra's chest rose sharply. Tears filled her eyes, but this time they weren't heavy with pain. They were light, soft, full of relief. She let out a shaky laugh through her tears. "Free," she repeated softly, as if tasting the word for the first time. "After everything they did, I'm finally free." Her mother walked up then, Mrs. Okafor, her face soaked in tears. Without a word, she wrapped her arms tightly around Sandra. The hug was warm, deep, forgiving. Years of distance melted in that moment. Sandra rested her head on her mother's shoulder. "Thank you, God," she whispered, her voice trembling. "They tried to bury me, but you made me bloom instead." The sun poured through the mansion's tall glass windows, bathing her in golden light. The same mansion where betrayal grew had now become her place of freedom. Her stepmother, Veronica, couldn't raise her eyes. Hilary and Becky stood at a corner, shaking in silence. The weight of guilt hung over everyone like smoke. But Sandra didn't look their way anymore. She had no time for tears that didn't come when she needed them. She turned to Matt, who was still holding her hand gently. His eyes glistened with quiet admiration. "I never knew I gave you a wrong role to play in my life," she said softly. "Thank God I didn't lose you eternally. But it turns out I only lost those who never truly loved me." Matt smiled faintly. "And you gained peace," she nodded. "Peace," she whispered. "Something money never bought." Everyone else in the room remained frozen, unsure whether to cry or apologize. Sandra glanced at them, her lips curling into a sarcastic half-smile. "Well," she said finally, "since my funeral is officially over, I think it's time we start celebrating my resurrection." A few people gasped. Someone dropped a glass. But Matt laughed quietly beside her. Sandra's eyes sparkled as she looked out through the window, the light reflecting in her tears. "They planned my end," she murmured softly, "but this is just my beginning." She walked toward the doorway, her head high, hands still in Matt's. Her mother followed close behind, and as the door opened, a fresh breeze swept through the mansion, blowing away the scent of lies, betrayal, and fake love. For the first time in years, Sandra smiled. A real smile. 6 months later, the once cold mansion that echoed with fake tears was now filled with laughter, warmth, and joy. Every corner smelled of fresh roses. Every wall glowed with peace. Sandra stood before the mirror, her face radiant. Not because of makeup, but because of happiness. Real, deep, heart-melting happiness. Her white wedding gown shimmered like sunlight. Behind her, her mother adjusted her veil, tears of joy glistening in her eyes. "You've been through fire, my child," her mother whispered, smiling. "But look at you now. You came out shining." Sandra chuckled softly, holding her mother's hands. "The fire didn't burn me, Mama, it refined me." Just then, the doors opened. Matt walked in, wearing a sharp tuxedo, his smile soft but full of pride. He stopped when he saw her, speechless, his eyes locked on the woman who had once been declared dead, but now looked more alive than ever. "You look like a dream," he whispered. Sandra laughed gently. "And you look like the man I prayed for but never thought I'd find." The church bells rang outside, and soon they stood together at the altar. As the priest spoke, tears filled Matt's eyes. This was the woman he once watched cry silently in the back seat, the woman he once called Madam. Now she was about to become his wife. When the priest finally said, "You may kiss your bride," Matt didn't hesitate. He pulled her close and kissed her softly, a kiss that sealed not just their marriage, but their victory over pain, betrayal, and lies. The crowd cheered. Her mother clapped through tears. Even Becky and Hilary, now humbled by life, stood at the back, smiling sincerely for the first time. Sandra whispered against Matt's chest, See, love, this is what peace looks like." He smiled and kissed her forehead. "And this time," he said, "no one's taking it away." 1 year later. The sound of baby laughter echoed through the big mansion. 3 tiny voices giggled and cooed, turning every moment into music. Sandra sat on the couch, looking down at the 3 bundles in her arms. 2 handsome boys and 1 beautiful little girl. She smiled, tears of joy in her eyes. "My little miracles," she whispered, kissing their tiny foreheads. Matt walked in, carrying a feeding bottle, looking both exhausted and happy. "Triplets," he sighed playfully. "God really didn't come to play with us." Sandra laughed heartily. "We prayed for 1, he gave us 3. Triple blessings for triple betrayal." They both burst out laughing. The mansion that once carried the stench of deceit was now filled with baby cries, lullabies, and love. Every sunrise was a new beginning. Sandra often stood by the window, holding one of the babies close, watching the sky with gratitude. "I was buried alive," she would whisper softly, "but God resurrected me with love, peace, and 3 angels." Meanwhile, far away in the grey walls of Bromley Correctional Prison, Daniel and Tonia sat in their orange uniforms, staring blankly at the floor. The court had sentenced them to 15 years' imprisonment, a fitting price for their wickedness. Tonia still cried every night. Daniel had grown cold and silent, his pride long gone. They watched the days fade, one after another, with nothing but regret to keep them company. Their names, once whispered in luxury circles, were now written in shame. From luxury beds to prison bunks, that's what betrayal bought them. Back in her mansion, Sandra sipped tea on the balcony as Matt rocked their babies to sleep. She smiled faintly, eyes glowing with peace. "Justice served, love restored, blessings tripled," she said quietly. "Not every revenge needs blood. Some just need patience." Matt looked at her and smiled. "And grace," he added softly. She nodded. "Yes, grace." As the sun dipped behind the hills, Sandra leaned back, holding her family close. The same woman they buried now lived surrounded by laughter, truth, and love. The same man they mocked, her driver, now stood beside her as her king. And as baby giggles filled the air again, Sandra whispered with a proud smile, "They wanted me dead, but God had other plans." Hello, my beloved besties. When betrayal buries you, don't fight the soil, grow from it. Sandra's story reminds us that pain can become power and ashes can bloom into beauty. What part touched your heart most, the wedding or the triplets? Drop your comments below. Besties. And don't forget to like, share and subscribe for more love-filled tear-dropping stories.